Shoes and clothes for kids. Shoes and clothes for kids. Seems pretty basic, almost elementary. But for more than 50 years, thanks to the vision and commitment of our founder, Morrie Sayre, we've been providing Greater Cleveland kids this basic need. And the need continues to grow. And in Greater Cleveland, when you ask, you receive.
Growing up in our home, helping other people was a responsibility. That was just something you did in the Fine household.
We have a phrase in Hebrew, tikkun olam, which means the repairing of the world. And so one of the core ideas of how we do that is through tzedakah.
It's the concept of not just doing charity, of giving money, but giving time.
The more anonymous you give, the better the gift.
In the Jewish faith, the word tzedakah means an act of righteousness that comes from our duty to help others in need. Not only does it mean generosity and philanthropy, it means justice. It's an imperative. It's a commandment in the Jewish faith, and it is one that has meaning and purpose across religions and cultures. Hi, I'm Scott Simon. I've been involved with Shoes and Clothes for Kids for nearly 20 years. I had the honor of serving as its board chair in 2012 and 2013. And I'm so excited to talk to you about Shoes and Clothes for Kids and to help spread the word about the incredible work that they do in our community. Shoes and Clothes for Kids was founded in 1969 by Morrie Sayre.
Morrie was a jogger, and he went to the Central YMCA in his off time. And he saw a lot of kids there and saw that a lot of their shoes were really not in good shape. And being my father, he knew he had to do something about it.
My father was very active in Shoes for Kids almost from the very beginning. His friend Morrie Sayre contacted him and said, I have a great organization that I've just started, Shoes for Kids, at the time it was called. And he said, I think you'd really be into this. I know that you grew up in Kinsman and you care about the inner city kids, and we need to make sure that all these kids have shoes so that they can feel good about themselves. And my dad said, you're right, I need to help with this. The organization grew so big, and there were so many people involved, and finances were there, and they said, hey, we need more than shoes. Morrie said, okay, these kids have shoes now, but what good are shoes if they don't have clothes?
Morrie is an unusual guy. He had the idea. It's such a simple thing we were doing. It was all because of this one guy with the sad, droopy eyes.
As a young child, I remember visiting an event with my father. It was a fundraising event in Cleveland, and there was somebody on stage who had an absolutely magnetic personality. He was wearing a cape, and he spoke with words that inspired the entire crowd. I was wowed, and I never forgot that gentleman. Later on, he became a mentor of mine. He was one of the founders of Shoes and Clothes for Kids, and his name was Vic Gelb. Vic's generosity and vision touched our entire community. But in my mind, Shoes and Clothes for Kids held a special part in Vic's heart. And I know that many of us miss him and miss his leadership. Tonight, it's especially appropriate that we honor Vic and his memory and his commitment to Shoes and Clothes for Kids.
For me, there's a visual that I think everybody has to get into their mind of some young men with ties filling their trunks with shoes, boxes of shoes. I get emotional thinking about it. You know, it's one thing to drive through an area and see that there's a problem. It's another to do what Morrie did, you know, which is to get on the phone and call the people that he knew would be invested. Irving Fine, Vic Gelb, Allan Krulak, you know, and say, there's a problem, but we can make a difference. You know, they physically went out with their wallets and they bought boxes of shoes and they put them in their trunk and they drove to the neighborhoods where they were needed.
What an act of giving, an act of social justice, an act to help those who need it, no matter what religion or color or gender. What a story. A few years ago, we were introduced to Allan Silverman. We had known of his tremendous work for many years, but now it was time to have him help Shoes and Clothes for Kids grow, to serve more kids, receive more stuff.
1990, lots of Cleveland schools started school uniform programs. And then I was inundated with requests for free uniforms. And that's when I started Uniforms for Kids. That in 2016, I merged Uniforms for Kids into Shoes and Clothes for Kids and became a board member.
I went to some of the schools where the kids got shoes and saw them putting on their new shoes, and their faces were just great.
It just makes them feel like I can do anything. I can succeed in life, and somebody cares about me, and I'm worth something.
They're providing these bits of confidence, these shoes, these things, so that a kid can wake up and they can feel good about themselves, and they can go and they can slay their day. To me, that's epic.
I think one thing my father always stressed to us as a family was that, yes, we're Jewish, but Jewish people help everybody. And so it was very important when my dad explained the foundation to us that when we do things, pick your organizations wisely, make sure there's a cross-section, then it doesn't matter who you are or what you are, you help everybody.
I think Morrie would be thrilled about what Shoes and Clothes for Kids are like today. It's grown so much.
The shoes is we're at our peak now. We're in great shape.
For me personally, Shoes and Clothes for Kids came down to one moment. I was at a distribution a number of years ago. It was at the Cleveland Browns Stadium, and we were handing out both puffer jackets and small gifts to the kids who had come that night. I saw one 6-year-old sitting on the floor, wearing his new jacket and playing with a toy, and I knelt down next to him and asked him how he felt about the evening. Was he having fun? He looked up at me and said, "Sir, this is the best night of my life." It's moments like that that will stay with me forever, and it's moments like that that have occurred over 53 years of Shoes and Clothes for Kids history.
This is an organization where you see right away the impact that your dollars and your volunteerism can help.
There's such an end goal here, focused on education. And so when you dial back and you look at the life of someone going back to their early childhood and their educational opportunities, especially if they're disadvantaged, creating an even playing field at that point in their life can simply set them up for a successful life.
It's so much more than just shoes and clothes.
What hasn't been said in this video is a special thank you to our founders. They preferred that it come at the end so that the incredible story about Shoes and Clothes for Kids can be told first. Morrie Sayre, Allan Krulak, Irv Fine, Allan Silverman, and Vic Gelb. These 5 leaders gave their all to help kids in need, then and now. And incredibly, their children and grandchildren have joined the cause. It is a very special story. On behalf of the board of directors, the staff, all of our volunteers and beneficiaries, to our founders, we say, thank you.